Someday I'll remember to turn off the auto start thing, but not today.
It's okay.
Here we go. So hello there, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Star Wars Tapcaf Transmissions. I am Corey, one of the Star Wars hosts on the Star Wars podcast, joined as always by a co-host who I forgot to introduce last time, along with myself, Mr. Star Wars Eckhart's Ladder. How are you doing today, Eck?
Ooh, you forgot one of the two Tapcaf transmitters.
I didn't introduce anything. I don't think we really introduced the podcast at all last time. We just kind of jumped into it.
If who's jumping into a podcast, book 17 of the new Jedi Order anyway.
This is where we get all of our new listeners. This, like, the farther you go into a series, the more people start watching. That's what I've learned doing my Empire at War series is on my gaming channel as well. Oh, did you just turn on the UV light in your room to see if there's any stains anywhere?
No, I was trying to fix my camera, and I opened the software, and it was very purple.
Okay, well,
I know where all the stains are. Why would I need to look when I presumably was the one who made them?
Well, I don't know if you've looked through it since you bought the house, because that was fairly recent. So
that's true. This did used to be a bedroom, so
there you go. Have you checked the corners?
I don't want to look too closely.
All right. Well, today's topic is book 18 out of 19 in the New Jedi Order. So we are getting very close to finishing our 3-year journey. I'm not sure exactly how long it actually has been. But before we jump into the Star Wars: the New Jedi Order: Edge of Victory 3: the Final Prophecy. Is there any other Star Wars news you want to cover?
No. No, I wish there was something to talk about.
All right, I'm looking at the edit history to see when we did the Edge of Victory books. That was July 2023. Okay. Let's go back to Vector Prime. I'm judging this based on the cell edit history in the spreadsheet. That's... Okay, 2023 seems like when all that was. It doesn't show the right date for that one.
I mean, the easier way would just be to look up the YouTube video.
Yes, it would be. But I didn't think about that. So,
I'm curious. I'm gonna look it up right now. Corey's datapad, New Jedi Order, Vector Prime. So it just says 2 years ago. It was March 24th, 2022.
All right, so we are 2.5 years into the New Jedi Order. We're slightly faster reading it than it was written, I think. But
yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm happy with the pace. We're busy people, busy beavers.
So
I've got other things to transmit.
Is that what the UV light's for?
No.
Okay. Look, I have to ask, or else people will wonder. But I was unaware that in anyone's mind this was considered part of a trilogy, but most things don't classify it as a trilogy. But in this book, if you go to the About the Author page, it lists his books, and it has this listed as Edge of Victory 3, The Final Prophecy. Even though that's like 7 books ago.
That's weird. That's really weird.
It's
not really like the other...
Well, it was written by the same author, and that's why I guess it's so heavy on like Tahiri and Nenyim and stuff. So, kind of makes sense. If I'm that author, I'm grouping them together. Then people will just buy my trilogy and not realize they're missing out on 16 other books.
Yeah, all my classic content.
I'll read his 3, but the rest, forget about it.
I think I can figure it out. I'm pretty bright.
Well, before we get into figuring out the Final Prophecy, because we are both so bright, any other Star Wars news that's worth talking about other than the Jedi Power Battles getting a re-release with some extra content?
Yeah, so have you ever played that game before?
I don't think I have.
No, me neither. So, I mean, I'll probably try it. Otherwise, I don't really think there's a whole lot else.
That could be a Tapcaf episode of just us playing Jedi Power Battles, because it's only two players, right? So we can't do it for X2.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Unless we have 3 pairs playing Jedi Power Battles together.
We'll swap. 30 minutes in, choose a new buddy.
Whoever finishes the level slowest gets paired.
Yeah, I never played it before, so
Well, that's where Electric Judgment comes back from with Plo Koon, right?
I never played it. Why the fuck are you asking me?
Well, because we've read
I just
Wikipedia.
said that.
I've seen your videos.
Sorry, what's Wikipedia? Is is that the
It's the place you go if you want to see all
encyclopedia?
the ads.
Oh yeah, yeah, okay.
It's so fucking annoying. Like, I'll be trying to copy and paste to make a video script, and then there's the bug where like an ad will load, and then the same ad will load right under it, and it keeps shoving the text down. It makes it really hard to highlight everything that you
And
wanna
you've
paste
only
in.
been able to get there by going through like a full page click through ad as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't fuck around. They're gross.
If you're trying to use it on your phone, like forget about it. You can't read
No,
shit.
don't even bother. Yeah, don't even.
Like, how else am I
Um,
supposed to know what a Revan is if I'm gonna make a video on them?
yeah.
I'm not
Revan
gonna
was a
play
human male.
KOTOR.
Maybe half the time. uh oh man, it's the NHL app has or the Sportsnet hockey app that I use to watch the games on has been really bad. Uh Now when you open it, the first thing you see is a fucking MGM betting, like the full screen, and then it like curtains open, and it's just like, come on, like which is also insane because I'm pretty sure only people in Ontario can bet on and like there it's so profitable for them to fuck over people with gambling addictions that they don't even need to target it. Whatever, wide net. Maybe he'll be in Ontario one weekend and he'll do it.
Yeah, that seems like a huge waste of money, but like, I guess if you're in
Mhm.
Nova Scotia and you really want to get your bets in, you're willing to make that trip to Ontario. The 24-hour via train is worth it.
Yeah, and they know like where I am because they don't let me watch certain games. Like they know. So yeah, it's I've been offered gambling money before. God knows I've needed it at times. Haven't broken down yet because it's just it's bad, man. It's bad stuff.
It's called having principles.
Yeah.
But in this
Oh,
book,
speaking of, we are developing a new Eckhart's Ladder Vite ramen flavor.
oh, a new
Happy,
one. Will it
happy
be
to
as
announce.
thick?
Probably not.
Okay, well, I don't care then. I might
I
care.
think he's like we're gonna try. We might do a Donair inspired one, which will end up just kind of being like a garlic beef type of thing. But yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
Right. Well, I'll make sure to save some of my money or maybe pull from my RRSP for that. But keep us posted.
Yeah, fucking cash some investments.
Well, so speaking of principles, we're going to be going over the principles of some characters like Nenyim, Nominor, Tahiri Vela, and Corran Horn in
Yeah,
this
nice to
here
see
New Jedi Order
corn
book.
back in it.
Yeah, Corran's been gone a while, and they refer to him. So this book has the Yuzan Vong. It's really focused on the kind of shamed one heresy in the eyes of the rest of the Yuzan Vong, the redemption of the shamed ones in their own eyes. But with Nominor as the leader, they're finding out about Zanama Sikot, and Nominor in the persona of Yusha, the shamed one leader, Nenyim, the master shaper, and who's been working for Shimra on the down low, creating heretical things to pretend that they knew him the whole time, and the high priest Harar, who kind of seems to be opposed to Shimra in some ways. He wants to find out more about Zanema Sikot because they have discovered the commander who attacked Zanema Sikot in a prior book has made it back to the Yuzan Vong. He's disappeared. So there's all these different parts of Yuzan Vong society that have kind of heard those rumors and want to see what's behind it. So this book is about them teaming up with some Jedi, Tahira and Corran, to go to Zanema Sikot and kind of see what the planet's all about, with a B plot of a honestly kind of boring Battle of Bilbringi to kind of keep the war in focus. So that's what we're talking about today. But with Corran specifically, Tahiri does end up asking Corran if he will train her Padawan style. And they talk about how, oh, well, there's plenty of other like actual masters who could do that. You don't want me. Is
There's like
Corran
two
not
of them.
established as a master by this point? I feel like he was.
He should be, but I mean, if you think about it, I guess he's only been a Jedi for. Well, I guess at this point he's been a Jedi for like 20 years. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably time. Probably time to rip the Band-Aid.
I don't know if the author just was thinking about, oh, he's not on the council that Luke made, so
Yeah.
maybe that's what it is.
Also,
But
you don't need to be a master to be a. I guess maybe they didn't. No, they would have known that because Obi-Wan takes on Anakin in Episode 1.
mhm,
It is a strange situation, but he's clearly not a master because he just got his own Padawan braid
yeah,
removed. So, no excuse. Greg, is it Greg Bear?
great
Greg Keys?
keys.
Yeah, Greg Bear's the other one. Yeah.
But yeah, so we don't really see that many of the master Padawan relationships in the book, other than like we have Jaina and Mara, Jason and Luke. Like a lot of the other ones just kind of get kind of thrown by the wayside, or people
Yeah.
you just assume are being trained in the background, but you have no evidence for it. So I didn't remember that Tahiri became Corrin's Padawan, but I don't know that it really comes up ever again.
No, that happens a lot in these books where like, oh, it'll just be like it's like that episode of South Park where they show how they make like the Family Guy scripts. It's like a walrus knocking a
Mhm.
ball into two. It's like, oh, we've got Ali Marar apprentice to Sabbath Sabatine.
I don't know. I
It's
I
gonna
think
end
this
tragically.
works, but I guess the only time it could really come up again, unless she's reminiscing, is Unifying Force, because then there's a 5 year gap between books.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember how prominent he is in Legacy of the Force. He's more prominent in Fate of the Jedi, but obviously she is very prominent because she has her dark side era. Um, but yeah, I do like how he just immediately calls her like I feel like he humbles her. Like
Yeah.
he felt like a an avatar for the reader who's just like finds all this alternate personality stuff really dumb.
He's the one who trusts her the least after the alternate personality stuff comes through, where they're planning this mission to extract the Yuzan Vong from Coruscant, because they're supposed to bring Yusha, and then he adds on Nen Yim, and then Harar gets added on as well. But when they're considering whether they should even undertake this mission, the Jedi, Corrin is asked to go by Kenth, and Tahiri kind of gets added to that because like she knows what Yuzan Vong are. She has the most experience with them. But Corrin doesn't trust her because he's not sure if she's like trustworthy as a Yuzan Vong, like half Yuzan Vong person. So
I think it's like also having to spend multiple days in a closed space with a teenager, like not pleasant, especially one who's going through integrating the Vong personality. Like
mhm. Well, how did
I
you
don't
deal
even
with
think
that when
that
you were a kid? Like, how did you integrate your Vong personality?
contact sports mostly. Yeah.
See, I never did contact sports, so maybe that's why me and my Vong personality still don't get along very well.
Yeah,
You just
there's like
leave
another
mean
room.
comments on TikTok
Yeah, there's another room off camera, like just to your right, where it's just like you're just shitting on the floor and like breaking
and
things.
show my laundry room. It's like a dark corner in there.
Yeah, that's the Vong corner. Don't talk about what goes on over there.
Where's Corey? Oh, he's in his Vong corner right now.
Not Corey, it's John Choka.
John Joka.
Yeah,
That's my wrestling name.
yeah, yeah. Go named Choka. So
Mhm.
yeah, highly placed. Highly placed.
Well, one thing we also find out about Tahiri is that her Rena persona
Hmm.
was actually a person before, and that person turned out to be Nenyim.
Yeah, Ninyam is like the most likable Yuzhan Vong individual, I'd say. I mean, you kind of can't help but like Nomor because he's just such a scumbag.
Yeah.
Like everything he does is like he spent like 6 or maybe like 4 books building up this entire thing where like he's talking about redeeming all these people who've been thrown to the gutter by society, and like in this book he's like, maybe I will do it, like maybe I will be like end up redeeming them, and then he gets like one opportunity to go back to his old life and he's like, I'll probably just do that instead. He's like pragmatic. He does not give, he's like he's a rascal. He's a rascal.
Absolute rascal. I think that's what Harar calls him.
Yeah.
When they're fighting at the end, he's, oh, you little rascal. If if Nominor had the opportunity, he would literally lick Shimra's boots.
Yeah.
Like, just slop that right up. Just like that.
Can I polish that for you, Dreadlord?
He has fucked up so much over his life. I'd be afraid that, like, Shimra doesn't seem like the kind of guy where having his
Yeah.
goodwill is going to last more than a week. So
Zero
what?
chance I'd be going back to Shimra. Like,
Yeah.
you're not making up for Ebac 9. No way.
Like, why do you want that job back? You
Yeah.
will die a week later. It's over. Especially when the
Yeah, and
Yuzan
like,
Vong are not in a winning position right now.
yeah, exactly. Like, he was on path to being arguably more powerful. They could have overthrown Shimra, and he could have. I think his best bet would have been making peace with the GA, because there's no chance of the Vong winning at this point. They've just been making poor decision after poor decision. The only little victories they get is when they get they literally like fucking hack. They hack and they shut down the HoloNet, and like they still get their butts kicked.
They put a literal bug in the HoloNet. And no one thinks to like scan the HoloNet relays for little critters.
Yeah. Well, little guys, but yeah.
In Nominor's defense, he did think that if he became King of the Shamed Ones, he'd be dealing with mostly ugly people.
Yeah.
And
That
that's
is
his
true.
main reason for going against it. But I did think the
Although
book...
there was a path forward for everyone to be like, that's kind of what Nen Yem realized. There's like a path forward for everyone to be redeemed. I mean, it's going to happen, so yeah.
Like I did really like Nenium in this. I think she has been my favorite Yuzan Vong character over the last few books, especially. But I did think the book started out a little bit on the nose with Nominor's prophecy, whereas like in my Star Wars: The Final Prophecy, I will be walking on this planet over Yuzan Tar. Like, he embellishes a little bit, but it ends up like, man's a bit of a prophet.
Like bro had a legit prophecy.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to realize this, but
he
it's there.
stumbled onto like legitimately being like the guy in Yuzan Vong folklore. He fucked it up. He fucked it up. He tried to give the computer a virus, or the planet a virus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was working off of mostly stuff that he'd heard at court about like the what Shimmer was afraid of, like with Zunem Seacott, because Shimmer's afraid of it. But like all the stuff he added in was pretty good, and like he was just cruising towards winning. He had Neniem on his side. He had Harar on his side. Like, he doesn't just have... It's not even just the Shame ones at that point. It's just the whole galaxy, including the Yuzan Vong, could team up, get rid of Shimra, and then everyone's happy. And he would have been, like, in a high position in the new society. But instead, those boots needed a good licking.
Yeah, I mean, Harar is powerful enough that he can just fuck off the other side of the galaxy, tell people he's meditating, and, like, no one even questions it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Okay.
And with Harar, when he's talking to Neniem at the start of the book, I think that was Neniem. Was it Neniem and Nominor where the idea of the Querulus come up?
Oh yeah. Well, we hear Harar talking about it with Corrin. I don't remember who talks about it first in the original conversation, because he does explain to Corrin as well.
So within the Yuzan Vong, before they came into the galaxy, there was a different supreme overlord named Quariel, and that's who Shimra killed.
It was Carl from The Walking Dead. Carl, as said by Rick. Coral, where's Coral?
Or if you want to turn into a political philosophy, it's the QO realists. But he didn't want to invade this galaxy because he's like, oh, if you find a living planet, you must abandon it. There's an ancient saying in Yuzan Vong. It makes more sense in the original tongue. But Shimra kills the guy, and they decide to invade anyways. So when this is all coming up, Harar is like, yeah, maybe this was not a great idea. Maybe we shouldn't be here. But
bro, we need like 4 planets. Like, chill.
So yeah, we get the impression that maybe Harar might be one of these Coriolis. He knows who they are at least, which apparently is a rare bit of knowledge. But I don't know if we ever have that confirmed or not. We even leave this book with Harar having been pushed off a cliff. One of like 3 characters where you get a death fake out with them like falling off a cliff, which is you overplayed that one a little bit.
I mean, we get it with Tahiri 30 seconds
Yeah.
earlier.
So maybe we didn't need to get that many of them. But yeah, so he's the most questionable at first on like why is he here? Is he gonna like run back to Shimra? What information is he getting from this? But they still go to Zanamasi with him anyways. Corrin tries to trick them, where once they leave Yuzan Tar, formerly known as Coruscant, he says, we're actually going to Mon Calamari so that we can figure out what to do, just to see how the Vong would react. Well, in reality, he was taken to Yuzan or to Zanamasi. But on the way there, luckily this was happening because they're on a Sokotan ship, a ship made by Zanamasi. Engines were dying though because Nenyam had
Nenyam's such a fucking idiot. Thing is working perfectly well.
Was it though?
He's like, it would have. I mean, had she not put the Dovin basils in.
Well, she replaced the engines to be able to use it, but like I don't think the engines and everything else were intact, and she wouldn't know how to fix them. I think she talks about that, where like had she wanted to keep it how it wasn't going to work anyways because she's not a mechanic.
Okay, I didn't remember that, but that makes sense.
Because like I don't think the Warriors left it intact afterwards either.
Yeah. Yeah. The Vong stuff, it's like maybe most interesting in this book. I like learning a little bit more about why the Vong are scared of machines as well, where they kind of, it seems like they're afraid that like almost the machines are going to replicate and take over the whole, like everything, kind of what Harar seems to imply. And there's lots of fun ways you can like lore that into their backstory. Like they faced a race of self-replicating machines. I think is a pretty, it's almost like Dune with the what is it called again? The can't remember. In Dune, they had like the jihad, the Bolterian jihad, I think it was called. Kind of the same thing where they try to wipe out all the AI. But I found that discussion interesting, and then like the Vong's philosophy is clearly so stupid though, and Harar's realizing that, where he's like, yeah, like you guys are all about life. The first thing you did was drop a fucking moon on a planet, which is not great. And like Harar's whole argument is like, oh well, we kill everything, but we replace it. Like Cernpedal didn't get replaced. Like I think they put a world ship on it for a bit. Was that Cernpedal? Or no, that was Belkadan. They put the world ship on, but like
I think they were growing a world ship or something in Cernpedal. That's what Kip.
Which is the one that Kip? Yeah, was that Cernpedal?
I think that was Cernpedal because they're using the like broken up asteroids for it.
Yeah. So it's like they're just lying. Like it's just not true.
Yeah.
Like they're killing. You kill like same with Coruscant. If you're gonna take that approach, that as long as there's like Coruscant still had biological life, lots of biological life. There's hawkbats everywhere. There's people. Like you're wiping out trillions of people. Like you're objectively decreasing the amount of life in the galaxy.
Yeah, and it's the Thanos mistake.
Yeah. And Harar's like, well, for some reason I don't agree with what we did. Like, yeah, because it's pretty fucking flimsy, dog.
Yeah, like the biggest thing they talk about is Ethor, which is a big sticking point for Corrin because he had dueled Shadow Shai to convince him not to eradicate Ethor, and then they kind of went ahead with it anyways.
Funniest epilogue ever.
And so Corrin's like, yeah, why did you do that to Ethor? And Harar's like, I don't know. I admit that's bad. Will you admit that you sometimes mixing machines and life is also just as bad? And Corrin's like,
no, dog,
no.
I won't.
And he's like, interesting rebuttal.
I'll consider this.
Because Corrin does also point out, like, yeah, some people would make Ithor the natural paradise it was, like the Ithorians did, and they built their herd cities above it. But other people would turn it into Coruscant. Other people would just fucking ruin their shit, like Detroit, Bonneton. And yeah, so they
Yeah,
did any number of people.
yeah. Yeah, Corellia, it's like kind of a mix as well. Like there are Corellia, I think is shittier in canon than it was in Legends, but like it seems to be a pretty nice place. Some places anyway.
Corellia is more like Earth-like, it seems, where like
Yeah.
sure there's cities, but there's also a lot of oceans around them and some fields, and they can grow some grapes there to make Corellian wine or whatever. No, I think they were
I don't
doing
remember.
Corellian brand even.
Is it I Jedi where he goes to where Corrin goes to Corellia for a bit to like his own old hometown?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's in iJedi,
It's
but
like
I think there's also there's iJedi, but it does also
then
see
the
that
Corellian
kind
show.
of yeah.
I just thought I Jedi did a better job
Yeah.
from what I remember.
But with that whole journey, we do see Tahiri getting closer and closer with Nenyim, especially. Corrin gets closer with Harar. And Nenyim is trying to find out as much as he can about Zonema initially, she's thinking that Zonema might actually be a threat. They might need to destroy it. And so she's brought some contingency plans just in case. And that turns out to be a mistake because Nominor wants to use those to eradicate Zonema once he figures he has an in with Shimra. But when she is kind of cataloging the life, she realizes that one of the trees they have there is exactly like a specific Yuzan Vong tree, the limb tree from their homeworld. And
Mhm.
she only knows this because she like made a little bonsai limb tree to put in her office once.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no one's looked at it for 1,000 years. But she starts realizing that like a lot of the Yuzan or a lot of the Zonema life is related to them, and she kind of wonders why.
Yeah. Uh, Definitely something worth thinking about, and it's kind of weird that they don't come to the natural conclusion. Not necessarily the whole. It ends up being kind of weird, but it's a planet that they know can move, and I don't think she really talks about the potential of it being from their galaxy. I mean, a
Mm-hmm.
little bit they do mention the legend of the homeworld,
Yeah.
but that's pretty quickly dismissed.
Yeah, and she also says like, "Oh, we have information in our cortexes that just didn't seem relevant anymore," which like talks about how to combat this kind of like the Sokotan ships that we're seeing that are like the mix of life and non-life. And like there's so many clues of what's going on there that it is kind of weird that their reaction at first just keeps on being, "So we should kill it? We should kill it all?"
Do we blow it up? Maybe. Yeah, I mean that is one interesting aspect of the Yuzhan Vong where like they've been out in the fucking boonies for thousands of years. So a lot of their own history is kind of legend now. Excuse me, it's kind of legend now. So
Yeah, like when they're talking about how people are forgetting stuff from like Quariel being overthrown, it
yeah,
just seems like aren't most of you like
but
is no
that
one
couldn't have
over
been that long
40?
ago. Because Shimra's just a dude. Like he's pretty magnificent, but
Yeah,
he's just a dude.
it's like prequel era.
Yeah,
So one, we are adding them in Fall of the Republic to eventually fight the Republican CIS naturally, but two, like shouldn't someone know this stuff?
yeah. How is the Vong stuff coming?
We have assets, we have an art guide. It's eventually going to happen.
That's I'm so excited to do a big big playthrough of Thrawn's Revenge once they get in. Does that move the needle? Come on. Influencer, gonna play your game.
Ooh,
Come
we
on.
might get a video on X2. Great.
I'll do a video on the main channel. I put whatever up there now. That's the nice thing about having you
Seven
know,
other more successful channels now.
yeah. It's like I was looking, I think the main channel was like 5th in terms of revenue last month. And it's like, yeah, it's or not 5th, maybe 4th. But
How many do you have that you count in that?
hockey, football. Okay, so hockey was more definitely. Football was more. Clips was actually no, Clips wasn't more. So I guess it was only basketball has been more. It'll be more next month, but not last month. So I guess it was only like 3. But
And then you can just tell all your staff that you're not paying them and you get to keep that money, right?
well, yeah, that's the thing. Like that's why I'm like, I should just do the main one because I keep almost all the money. Like I don't gotta split it with anybody, with any of these bums that help me do my job.
Except for anyone who edits for that one.
Yeah, I'll
That's
pay.
a flat rate anyway, so who
Yep.
cares?
Yep. Yep.
And we can have a video on whether or not Nenyim gets to shape anything in Thrawn's Revenge.
That'd be cool. I mean, the I noticed with yours too, the lore stuff is actually doing okay right now.
Yeah.
And but it is the nice benefit of I don't have to talk about culture war nonsense. Like I will do the occasional news video, but I can just like my video that I've got coming out today probably is mostly about Yuzan Vong stuff. So it's nice to not. I literally called one video "Let me yap about shipyards for 8 minutes."
Yeah, like I think you've established your lore brand enough that you can be pretty loose with the titles and like you have the thumbnail set up. But like I still have to stick with people pointing at you through the screen, and that's really all that's been super
I did
successful
notice
for me,
that.
I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
I
mean,
find for me really plain ones that work super well,
yeah,
like
like
the really
I
bright ones.
yeah, bright is good. I like up the contrast and brightness gamma on everything. Even if it ends up looking worse, I used to be more concerned with looking better than being
Yeah,
good. And well, some of them didn't look good either. Still, but, like in the last month, I think there's only been one video that got below 5K or below 10K.
and they're long
Been
videos
bad.
too,
Yeah, 10
so
minute
that's good.
average. It's like
Yeah,
the 5 minute ones that do poorly. So
yeah. No, that's good.
10 minutes is good.
Yeah,
But anyway, so yeah, Nenyim finds out all this stuff about Yuzan Vong or Yuzan Vong life and Dunemasikot life, and then she decides after talking to Tahiri
let
that
them
like,
die.
well, rest in peace, but no, not yet. She doesn't decide to do that yet. She decides to have like the biggest full body orgasm that any Yuzan Vong ever has, I guess. Where she's talking to Tahiri about how Zanamasikot might be able to communicate with everything and how uh, the Vong can't do that because they're cut off from the Force. That might be why they're not able to do some of the
Yep.
things that, like, why they're not able to integrate into that ecosystem. But Nemyim thinks, well, you can use the Force. I put an extra Yuzan Vong brain in your brain, and you can still do all that. So, what if I make a new USB drive the way I know how to make it, but uh, out of local cells that I pull up from somewhere using some weird biotech that we're not going to explain too well because if we tried, it would be probably make no sense. And then I plug that directly into my brain. So she does that, and she starts like downloading all the memory of Zonema Seacot's
You're getting
trees
like
and stuff.
10 million years of fucking driver updates.
So she has a she blue screens for a moment and like is bleeding out her nose on the ground. Here he tries to save her, but Zanema Seacot kind of smacks that down until Nenyim is done. And I'd forgotten that she gets killed by Nomor. Like right after doing this, she goes and talks, like she goes and tries to meditate, and Nominor beats her head in with a rock.
Yeah, it was a pretty gruesome death too, I thought.
I was sad. Like I thought she lived until end of Unifying Force. I thought she ended up leading them, but no.
Nope. Nope.
Rest in peace. We lost a real one.
Rest in peace, Queen.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now Tahiri comes and finds her. He didn't do a great job at knocking her brains out because she's still alive enough to tell Tahiri that Yusha is actually Nominor. He goes to sabotage the world's hyperdrive systems. So Harar, Tahiri, and Korrin try to stop him. Doesn't work.
Yeah, he gets away. He somehow outruns the Jade Shadow, which is supposed to be sick ship. Fine, no big deal. It's just a yacht. He outruns Jade Shadow. He He gets by the cruiser, the frigate, and just pieces out. And he takes a few hits, but off to live another day.
Yeah, sadly he makes it. Nenyim doesn't. But we have all those MSC characters are reunited. So we have Tahiri and Corrin joining up with Luke, Jason, and Mara by the end of it, and Saba. But Harar is still unaccounted for. He had been knocked off a cliff the way Tahiri had been knocked over a guardrail by Nomor. That seems to be his finishing move.
He just has the funniest. He's just scampering. The dude is just scampering.
Scampering's right.
People are falling. Like he's got a lightsaber. It's just yeah. Yeah.
Well, Tahiri did get it back. I don't think he would have been left on the. He wouldn't have been led on the troop transport if he kept the lightsaber, unfortunately. So Tahiri had to get it back.
She just grabs it from him, and then just like really, really kicks him like super hard into a tree. like she does like a jump kick, hits him like into a tree. He smacks his skull off the tree, and then that's just the thing that happens sometimes.
Sometimes you get smacked, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you survive it, sometimes you don't. It's heads are weird like that.
Yep, it's true. I guess the Yuzan Vong are made of hardier stuff. It's like the average Yuzan Vong is like 40% tougher than a human.
Only 40? Humans
out
are
of armor,
brittle.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess the Vodun crab armor
They're always in their crab armor, which
bastards.
Yeah.
Little scamps always in their crab armor.
And plus, there's also the fact that you don't meet stock Yuzan Vong. They've always got modifications. Like Nonor's got fucking serpent in his eye.
It is so. There's what the Shamed One cast, Intendants, Warrior, Shaper.
Aren't Intendants just lower in the priest caste, or am I mistaken?
I don't think so. I think Intendants are like they're bureaucrats.
Oh, okay.
But like, is there just like a different caste out there somewhere that's none of those things? Like, is there the shopkeeper caste or something? Did they not survive the Great Beyond journey?
Oh, slaves are just okay. Shamed One's worker, shaper, priest, intendant,
worker,
warrior. Yeah. Can't really think of any workers. Workers are probably like next to Shamed Ones, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, they probably look the normalist. They probably have like t-shirts or something. T-shirt crabs.
Yeah. They've got like jeans, like high-waisted Levi's with like rags in the back pocket. They're always buffing something out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wife beaters on.
Some had a little honor, but most were looked on in contempt by the warriors and intendants.
Someone just clearly wrote that out of vibes. Like, it's got no citation.
Yeah. I think we do meet some of them with Anakin and Tahiri in Edge of Victory, at least. Because those are the Anakin books. Yeah, on Yavin. Yeah. They're like tending to the fields of lambent crystals.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Although a lot of those were Shamed Ones as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were the slaves. Because that was when they were doing like the zombie slaves.
Yeah.
I guess we got that a bit in the last book.
Maybe they've been maybe all the workers have been pressed into the warrior cast, but they're just less cool tattoos and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I feel like warrior has got to be like, well, I feel like warrior might be so like if you take the average person from each cast, I think the warrior might be like the most highly rated. Although even the elite warriors might be, because Shimra was probably a warrior, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think he was.
Got that dog in him. Woof woof.
He's a very big Vong.
Yeah. I don't know how tall he's supposed to be, which I think is part of the point. Like, he's always lionized by these people who are looking at him, where they're like partially. I don't know if they're under Onimi's spells as well, but they see him as like 30 feet tall. There is one part where it's not Nim Yen, it's the other shaper, where clearly I think that I think she's having the Force used on her by Onimi.
Mm-hmm. Because
it describes like it's very similar to like just a Force persuasion kind of, or like a dark side like dominating power. She says like someone's got a hand squeezing her head.
I fucking hate the Vong sense stuff though too, where it's
Me
like
too.
it's
That was
it's
goofy.
just the Force. You gave them a new version of the Force that's still the same as the Force, but for some reason their Force works on them.
Yeah.
But I love the
Yeah.
pictures of Shimra because they all got that fucking lens flare in the middle of their eyes because he has the eyes that change color.
That is
So
one of my favorite parts. Yeah.
it looks like a 2018 meme basically.
I just love the one that's on the wiki page. He's just like, "Arr." He's giving like the troll face, like the classic troll face with the lower jaw.
The new essential guide to characters picture for him is atrocious. It
They
doesn't look
all,
like a crab holding him at all. Oh, well.
I forgot they called it the polyp throne. It's like is like when you go into like fucking to get when they go to the Vong doctors to get their butthole looked at and they find polyps. Is that like a great moment of
It's
like
important from the gods.
add it to the throne, remove it, and add it to the throne?
It's like the Iron Throne in Game of Thrones where it's like all the swords, that it's all the anal polyps prior
Which is
overlords.
just like exactly, and that I talked about that a bit in my video today, where it's like the Vong are so cheesy because they're clearly just meant to be the opposite of like what aesthetic sense in the galaxy would be like. Oh, we find polyps gross. They find them cool.
Delightful.
We don't like pain, but they do. Yeah.
We don't listen to Nickelback, but they do.
It's kind of crazy that there's been no hint at Onimi's true form yet. That's one thing I was wondering about before doing the reread.
Yeah. I think in one of the there's something with Nenyim in either this book or one of the prior ones where you can kind of read it as her thinking something is up or like her
Yeah.
picking up on something being up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's really it's not something you could probably call going into it.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Anything else with the Zonema Seacot plot, the Nominor, Nenyim, or
No, not
other
really.
guys? All right,
No.
so we have our B plot in this book. There's a little bit with Han and Leia in some other places. But the big thing is Operation Trinity, the attack on Bilbringi, and it doesn't go great. So the plan for this attack is that you have three fleets. There's Wedge leading one, Trace Crefay leading another, and Gilad Pelion that's going to be leading a third. Wedge is going to go in, kind of make them think it's a feint, send their fleets somewhere else, and then once they get word from Wedge, Pelion and Crefay will jump in and they'll take Bilbringi. That's a good staging point into Coruscant, and everything will be great. But because they've released a bug into the HoloNet, when Wedge goes in, it's not good. Not
No,
good.
it's not. And it really drove me crazy because there's an obvious option. Send a courier, which they do to send someone else. They send the courier to go get Crefe. But like Han comes all the way from Mon Cala
Literally the
to
opposite side of the
the
galaxy.
opposite side of the galaxy. He's the one who goes back and forth when like they could have just sent an A-wing to go do that. It would have been fine.
Time is so fucky in this book. Like, Star Wars travel is always weird, but like in the space of what's probably supposed to be a 6-hour battle, I guess there's some like standstills and stuff. Han goes all the way across the galaxy, finds Devis, I think that's his name, finds Pelion's son and a TIE defender. They get to the battle. Jane is doing her stuff, passing out on the Golan 2 that's hidden, and they get there, and then, yeah, someone from Wedge's force probably should have gone before Jaina sends Jag from Twin Suns.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't even really factor into anything either, because, like, the message that they'd be sending to Crefay and Pelion is, it's not good. And then they
Yeah.
leave before anyone gets there. So it's not like they were actually getting any help. They just sent Jag out and Devis, and nothing really came of it.
Yeah. It just it made no sense. It felt like they needed Han and Leia to be in this book. The the battle was kind of a cool idea, especially where Bilbringi obviously has the historical context, but and even the we're getting some big ships and stuff, which is nice, and some
Mhm.
big heavy slugging, even though it's still kind of just in the background. But yeah, the whole HoloNet thing is really silly.
Mhm.
And yeah, send a courier, like, because it makes no sense.
Yeah. So the Golan thing is that there is a cloaked Golan that's been sitting there for a while. Thrawn had put some cloaked Golans in as part of his plan to deal with any attack on Bilbringi. Some people had taken it over, like I guess a year before. It's hard to tell which parts of the story were a lie that they were telling because they were just trying to jump out and sell their Golan to a local planetary government. But
Yeah,
Jaina gets in. She gets taken captive. A Golan with a hyperdrive is a interesting concept.
I mean, theoretically, they would be built with a hyperdrive and then moved to wherever they're sold, and then probably have it removed, I guess.
Yeah, I think they do like a tug system. That's how they move
Oh yeah,
locally, at
tug.
least. And then
Yeah, that
there's,
would work.
but yeah. So this
Yeah,
one is built in, which kind of makes sense. Like you can put a hyperdrive in anything,
yeah. Well, they
like a
don't
planet.
they kind of mod it. The pirates kind of don't they bring the hyperdrive with them?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
because they wanted to. Yeah, they wanted to tell it. It was their idea to make it mobile. Thrawn's was the cloak.
Do we
But
know about the Golan in the Thrawn trilogy? I couldn't remember.
no, I think this is a new detail that gets thrown in.
Need to redo
So
my battle breakdown, I guess.
it makes sense. Like I'm perfectly fine with this as like a thing that gets added in. Of all the information that gets put in contextually around Bill Bringing, I think this is probably the most fun.
Yeah, yeah, I
But
agree.
because there's all the other stuff about like, oh well, Pelion was or not Pelion, Kane was holding back forces like the Reaper that were going to jump in and maybe blow something else, blow
Yeah,
something up, not blow something else. That's a different book. But
the artist Kane love affair.
mm.
Go.
but eventually, Jaina, when they're gonna jump out, Jaina uses a little mind trick, makes them switch some numbers around, which I think is a fun use of the mind trick, a good little
Yeah,
subtle poke. I did like the whole Toydarians are immune to mind tricks thing. I think is just more of an extension of like Watto specifically wasn't weak minded. That wasn't going to work on him, so he made a quip about it. I don't think it's that like other people are susceptible to mind tricks, and then Toydarians specifically are immune. Because like he wasn't saying mind tricks don't. I'm a Toydarian. Mind tricks don't work on us. Only money. He wasn't being like this is a biological fact. This is a
yeah,
I am specific. Like it gets too Planet of the Hats kind of thing. But
yeah. It's another all Twi'leks are slaves and all Hutts are
yeah,
gangsters, and you're right. In this case, it's probably not even meant to imply that. It's just he's
yeah.
just saying, yeah, fucking
Yeah, like there's at least some in text backing of it, but like Star Wars is so literal with stuff that is supposed to be figurative, and this is a thing that applies to authors and fans. Where like if someone says something, this is now literally true.
yeah,
Where it's the same thing with like when I've complained about it before, but like the nickname section on Supernatural Wiki, where one person calls someone slim once rather than it just being like a
yeah,
general term someone used. This is
yeah,
now Castiel's nickname,
yeah.
but
Buddy,
ass butt.
stranger. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so that happens. They win the battle. The Golan jumps in. Instead of jumping away, Jaina gets it to jump next to the interdictor. They blow a
Yeah,
hole in the interdictor, which Pelion's son does with his TIE Defender as well. He just fucking dies.
yeah.
One of
He just
Pelion's many, like, love child sons.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
how many sons
I
does
didn't.
Pelion have?
I don't know. I didn't even know he had one.
Isn't it also, like, Vitarige or something is heavily
I
implied to
don't
be
even
his
know.
son?
I don't even know.
It happens a couple times. So, yeah. But yeah, I think the battle was kind of a secondary thing for the book. It's not like a main focus. I do like Wedge's thing about Pelion, where he's talking to one of his underlings towards the start, and uh, Wedge is very hesitant to say that Pelion is a good guy, but he does say like Pelion knew his limits. Like he's a good commander and he knows their limits, and that's part of why I think that's the best description of Pelion we get in this era before
Yeah.
he just gets kind of completely whitewashed with the rest of the Empire and some of the upcoming stuff in the GA. But I really like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it kind of builds off. It's funny because Pelion's in like the exact same situation after Endor as well in Legends. Anyway, I don't know if Pelion's been given that role in canon. Probably not, but no, because it's Sloane where he's like people are dead or incapacitated or out of contact, so he suddenly gets command of the forces at Endor, and he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna fucking bounce."
Yeah. I guess he
Although I
just
know,
knows
yeah,
not to take battles he can't win. That's his special
yeah,
power there, which
yeah,
is
like
great.
that's
Like that's
why
good for him.
he shouldn't have been in. That's why I don't think he should be Grand Admiral Pelion because he's not really a Grand Admiral. Like
Mm,
I like Supreme Commander, yes, but like most of the Grand Admirals are like, at least when they talk about the Grand Admirals in the Thrawn trilogy, they're like each tactical, like real tactical threats. Like one grand, they talk in the Thrawn trilogy about a Grand Admiral coming back is like a major big fucking deal.
yeah. Well,
Um,
that goes out of the window long before Pelion, though.
yeah,
Like you have fucking Ish and Ilraz in there. There's maybe 5 of the Grand Admirals that are actually like particularly good military minds, and then 3 or 4 that are like actual S tier. Like
hmm
Grunger's up there, Thrawn, Teshik, uh, Tigellinus, I think, gets in there. And then you have like Batch and Declan who are like good. Or Batch is actually terrible. He's more R&D. Uh, so like want to tackle, yeah, Makati. They're kind of the middle tier ones. It's very it's not as
yeah,
prestigious as it sounds.
yeah. I mean, I'd say that's like a lot of the lore that came afterwards.
Yeah.
Like that's
The
just
Thrawn
in the
trilogy definitely makes it sound like, oh, like any one of these guys is gonna wipe the floor with the rebellion.
like I'm trying to think of like Pelion's great moments. You know, the the Essential Guide to Warfare talks about like his little campaign he did before the Empire got broken apart by the Moffs,
Yeah.
essentially, like the Arinda stuff. Like that's pretty good, I guess.
Yeah, he has some
But
good wins. Like I think he is good enough for it. He's not like
yeah,
the greatest person ever, but when everyone else in the Empire is being like, we should throw all of our men at these stupid battles, he's like, no, what if we didn't do
oh
that? What if we did like one attack sometimes to make them not kill us?
yeah,
Like, yeah, you're the best they have. You're the best around. People should listen to you more.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. So we have one more book to do in the new Jedi
long one.
Order.
Yeah,
It is a longer one. Unifying Force. I think it's shorter than the or no, I think it's like 500 pages actually. It's just thinner pages. What I was looking at in my books. So we are gonna ask Ilkin about coming back for that because I think we were gonna. He wanted to join for the first and last, and we had him for
okay.
Star by Star in the middle, I think.
hmm
So that'll happen definitely before the end of the year. Next week we're finishing Invasion,
hmm
I believe, is the plan.
Yeah,
24th was Glass Abyss, maybe,
yeah,
or
yeah,
because it was either that or we were gonna do like Death Troopers or something on Halloween and maybe something else in the middle. I'm not sure what we want to do there.
yeah. I think probably do Glass Abyss and then because Tapcaf will be on the 31st, so maybe we'll do I think the zombie books are pretty short, so we'll choose one of those to do.
Okay. Uh, and does it make more sense to try to put that on a different day if you're gonna be a parent?
No, because I mean my kids will still be in bed at the normal time.
Okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll definitely do Invasion next week. We'll definitely do one of the zombie books on the 31st, and then we'll see how we feel for the 24th for like
Yeah.
a different novel or something.
Yeah.
And in November we will finish Unifying Force.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to. I'm gonna try to put together a list of like all the books that we haven't done, so we can maybe see what we're gonna do immediately after that. I don't know if it makes sense to just like go straight into Dark Nest, or if we want
No,
to go somewhere
I want to
else.
do like
Rogue Planet, maybe.
I mean I'd like to do Lost Stars. It's
Lost
one that's
Stars would
been
be
on
good.
the yeah. Maybe just do a couple random ones.
Yeah. I'd kind of like to do the Old Republic ones at some point too. I
Yeah,
think there's the 4 of them.
yeah. I had never really read much of them, so
Yeah. Like I've picked through parts of them when doing videos where I've just like gone to specific sections to see like when characters come up and to see that
mhm.
Mitra gets mentioned maybe once in Revan, which
Yeah,
seems like too little. But
yeah.
yeah. So what are you putting our unless you have something else to add about the book? I kind
No,
of just yeah. Where are you gonna have Final Prophecy?
this one was a B. I think I like this one.
One's a B for you. All right. I am actually gonna put this on A.
Oh, okay.
I I don't know if it's just because I was thinking I wouldn't like it coming into it. Like I was kind of not looking forward to this one. I don't think I liked it
Mhm.
particularly much in my prior read throughs, but something about it this time I found myself really into it. I like what it did with a lot of the characters. I enjoyed the Yuzan Vong elements to it. I think it really dove into some of those parts that I
Dove
found
and
interesting.
basil into.
Aha, there you go.
Yeah,
But thank you, Jordan, for the super chats as well as we're on the way out.
thank you.
Uh, and we have one more NJO book to go. That's
Hard to believe we
exciting.
did it. We did it, Joe.
All right.
We read 18 books.
In 2.5 years. We have, and I guess there were some High Republic ones that were mixed in, but other than that, we didn't really do too much else that took it
Not a lot
over.
of reading. Yeah, not a ton.
Battle Scars was in there, Scourge, Heir to the Jedi, Convergence,
Ugh.
Cataclysm. You didn't read any of those.
I read Battle Scars,
Yeah, you read Battle Scars.
unfortunately,
You read Eye of Darkness.
and I read that. Wasn't there that was what about that Han and Leia book? Wasn't that before after we started?
I think that was before.
Okay,
Or no,
I
Prince
thought
of the
that was
Scoundrel
summer of
was actually right
2022.
after Edge of
Yeah,
Victory. So yeah.
yeah,
I mean, we both didn't think that one was too bad, actually.
no, that one was fine. It was a Legends book, basically.
Yeah. You, like, there were Battle Scars, Rebel Stand, and then Eye of Darkness, and those were not a good run for you.
Mm, yeah,
All
I
right.
was just not feeling my life, not enjoying it. I was like dreaming of the old X-wing days.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for this week's episode. Next week, we will be finishing the Invasion comics, at least finishing what got finished of the Invasion comics. We will be doing an X2 stream tonight on youtube.com/ECKSTOO, pretty closely following this. And yeah, so hope to see you next time.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.